Hello, dear children. I hope you're doing very good. Yes, so the last lecture we saw something which is very interesting, right? We saw what is pollination, what is self and cross pollination, and I told you what is the next step. Yes, very important, right? Fertilization is the very next step. So, in order to understand what exactly happens, we will just go through what we learned in the previous lecture and then we will start what is fertilization. Okay. So before that, children, I have mentioned that this topic to be a quick board revision, right? Which will be very, very, very useful for you all. So double fertilization, triple fusion is something they keep often asking. What is double fertilization? So triple fusion is not mentioned in NCRT, but then I want you people to know what is triple fusion, so that even if in case they are asking you what is triple fusion, you should be able to answer. Because it's very easy. You have to learn it hand in hand, okay, and it will be very helpful for your competitive exams and also in your higher grades, of course. So let us begin. I have already told you what is pollination, right? What is pollination? Transfer of pollen grains, yeah, from anther to stigma. Fine. So we have a lot of pollinating agents. If it is biotic, you have living pollinators like a honeybee or a butterfly, so many things, and a non-living pollinator like a wind or water. Right. So that's what is happening here. So the pollen grain from the anther is getting transferred to the sticky stigma, which means they're going to land on the stigma. They are getting deposited on the stigma. Fine. What happens thereafter? Look at this image. You can see the pollen grain sticking to the top of the stigma. And you can see a tube which is growing and attaching to the ovule. That is exactly called as pollen tube germination. What is that? Pollen tube germination. Very, very, very interesting and important. Right? Shall we proceed? So, pollination has taken place. The pollen grains have deposited on the sticky stigma. Now, a lot of sugary substance in the stigma, and apart from that, the ovule, right, has certain cells which will release certain chemicals to attract the pollen grain, because of which the pollen grain will germinate and a tube will start arising. So that tube is called pollen tube. Can you see? The pollen grain is germinating and a pollen tube is growing towards the ovule. And I'll tell you one very important board examination question here. Very, very important. I want everybody to remember this. So the important board question is that what kind of trophism is this going to exhibit? Chemotrophism. That too, positive or negative? Positive chemotrophism. Very, very, very important. I told you that the cells inside the ovule will release certain chemical attractants, chemicals, right, which is attracting the pollen grain to release the male gametes towards the ovule, right? So basically the pollen tube is growing towards the chemical, right? That's why it's a very, very great example for positive chemotrophism, and I want everybody to note it down. Yeah, if not in board exams, it will be super helpful in your competitive exams and in your higher grades, right? So now this pollen tube is growing and attaching to the ovule. Now look at this. If you ask me, ma'am, what are these? This single thing is an ovule. Fascinatingly, ovule is nothing but the egg cell, right? But not just the egg cell will be inside. You have some other cells also inside. Okay, we will see what is that. Okay. Now you can see, count the number there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But actually it's 7 cell, and I'll tell you why they have mentioned 2 cells there. Okay. So let me draw the diagram. If this is the ovule, okay, inside the ovule, you can see 1, 2, 3 cells on the top, a single cell with 2 nucleus, okay, and then here you can see 3 cells, okay. This is how the ovule is going to, the embryo sac is going to look like. So basically, these 2 cells, we call it synergid cells. Okay. This is not there in your NCRT. Since I'm covering concepts for your competitive exams, this will be useful. And the center thing is the egg cell. Okay. Inside every ovule, I'm saying, this is how it will be. Inside every ovule. And this cell is called the polar nuclei. Okay. Polar nuclei, it's a single cell with 2 nucleus. Okay. And these cells, we call it antipodal cells. Okay. So basically, how many cells? 7 cells But how many nucleus? How many nuclei? 8 nuclei. Because one cell at the center is having 2 nuclei. Right? Yeah. So this is how it looks inside the ovule. Okay. So one thing, when the pollen grain bursts open, right, and starts forming a pollen tube, it will release 2 male gametes. How many? 2 male gametes. Okay. Now what happens? The pollen tube which is growing, no, it will come and attach to the ovule like this. Okay. It's coming and attaching to the ovule. Where exactly? So there are so many concepts, but one most common point where the pollen tube come and joins is called micropyle. Micropyle. That is the opening of the ovule. Say suppose this is the stigma, this is the style, and this is the ovary. Okay, a cross section. Okay. Now the ovules, these tiny circles which I am drawing are the ovules inside the ovary. Okay, so you all know this is stigma, this is style, this is ovary, and the tiny circles inside the ovary are the ovules. Correct. This totally forms the pistil or the carpel, which is nothing but the female reproductive structure. Right. So what happens? Follow. This is very important. When the pollen grain comes and lands on the stigma, because of the chemicals released by the ovules, a pollen tube will start growing and attaches to the ovule. Like this, many pollen tube will grow and attach to one ovule. That's the concept. But we are just taking one pollen tube for our understanding. Okay, many such pollen grains. I mean, for every pollen grain, one pollen tube. Don't confuse that. Not just one pollen grain will come and land, right? Many pollen grains will land. So that will develop a pollen tube and attach to different ovules respectively. Now, look at this. I'm going to zoom in this ovule and show you. Okay. So if suppose this is the ovule, correct? The pollen tube is attached like this. Inside the pollen tube, how many male gametes are waiting? 2 male gametes. Okay. Now, how does the inside structure look like? 2 synergid cells. What else did I teach you? 1 egg cell is there. Let me use a different color. 1 egg cell is there. Then there is a polar nucleus and some antipodal cells like this. Okay, I'll tell you the functionality of each cell. So now what happens is that once the pollen tube comes and joins with a micropyle, the male gametes are entering inside. One male gamete will fuse with what? The egg cell. One male gamete is fusing with the egg cell, and this first fertilization, look at the words which I am using. This first fertilization, I am calling it to be syngamy. Syngamy means what? Fusion of male and the female gamete. Female gamete here is the egg cell. Male gamete, there are 2 male gametes. One male gamete fuses with the egg cell, and that fertilization is called syngamy. Okay, that first fertilization. What happens to the other male gamete? That will fuse with this polar nuclei. Already there are 2 nuclei inside, right? Inside the polar nuclei. One more nucleus is coming and fusing. So now this second fertilization is called triple fusion. Why triple fusion? Can you see triple nucleus involved there? 1, 2, 3. That's why it's called triple fusion. So basically what happens? One male gamete is fusing with the egg cell and forming the zygote. And forming what? Zygote. That zygote formation, right, is called syngamy, where the male and the female fuses to form the zygote. Another fusion, what is that? Another male gamete fuses with the polar nuclei and forms what? Endosperm. Okay? Endosperm. So let me write it clearly. In the first fertilization, the male and the female gamete are fusing together to form the zygote. That process is called syngamy. Second one, another male gamete is fusing with the polar nuclei to form the endosperm, and that process is called triple fusion. Simple. And when I say syngamy and triple fusion, these are individually fertilization only. First fertilization is syngamy, second fertilization is triple fusion. Therefore, we call these 2 processes as double fertilization. Okay? Simple. You can evidently see 2 fertilization happening. First fertilization we are calling syngamy, second fertilization we are calling triple fusion. Simple. Yeah? Now, what are the function of the other cells? Too many cells are there, right? What's the purpose of that? Why are they sitting there and complicating the topic? Very simple. I'll make it very easy for you. Basically, these two cells, no, the synergid cells, they are the ones who release the chemical and attract the pollen tube. Come to us, so that we can form a fruit. Okay, that's why it's releasing the chemical and attracting the pollen tube. That's the function. And they are also supporting, they provide energy to the egg cells. Okay, egg cell in between. And these antipodal cells, no, they supply nutrition to the endosperm. Endosperm. Now, what is this endosperm? I'll tell you in easy analogy, okay? So, in a human being, when the baby is growing inside the uterus of the mother, who's going to supply the nutrition? Of course, whatever the mother is going to eat is going to the baby. But who is extracting the nutrients and giving it to the baby? There is a temporary organ which forms. Such a fascinating topic, right? There is a temporary organ which can arise in a human being, which can give a life, which can support a life. That is placenta, right? Placenta is developing when the child is starting to develop inside the uterus. This placenta will derive the nutrients from the mother and give the nutrient to the baby. The same function endosperm is doing to the plants. Just like how a placenta supplies nutrition to the baby in a human being, likewise, endosperm is going to nourish the zygote, so that the zygote can become an embryo. That is going to ultimately become the seed, right? Seed is the very basic thing for a plant or a tree. Correct. That's why we are learning this. How a seed is formed. Correct. The ovule is going to become the seed. Correct. That's the concept here. What about the antipodal cells? These cells, they are going to provide nutrition to the endosperm. Endosperm is going to provide nutrition to the zygote. Simple as such. Okay. That's all. Now what happens? The zygote will become the embryo, and that structure becomes the seed. Basically, very important board exam, 10th board examination question, NCRT question. Ovule becomes the seed, and what happens to the ovary? Ovary becomes the fruit. Imagine this bulb, imagine an apple, okay? So, the apple has the fleshy part which you eat, and it will have many seeds inside. Okay, now imagine this is the ovary. This is going to become the apple, and these are the seeds. So, which is going to become the fleshy part of the apple? Ovary will become the fruit. What are these ovules now? They will become the seeds. Okay, ma'am, what will happen to the rest of the parts? The petals, sepal, this and that, all will wither off and fall. Okay, so don't ever pluck the flowers when you see them in the plants, because flowers will become the fruit. If you're plucking and playing with the flowers, you won't get the fruit. Yeah? Yes? Never ever do it with the pomegranate. Pomegranate has beautiful flowers. I hope you might have seen. Yeah? The flowers look pretty, and if you're going to pluck them, you won't get the fruits. Right? So, now, today you know it, that the flowers are going to become the fruit. So, if you want the fruit, don't pluck the flowers. Yeah? Just gaze at them, just admire them. Okay? Yes. Yeah, I have explained you the concept, and this representation will make you understand even more better. So see, antipodal cells, the polar nuclei, the egg cell and the synergid cell. Everything I told you. So let me tell you the functionality, repeat it. Synergid cells are going to support the egg cell. Correct? They are supportive sisters of the egg cell. Right? They provide energy to the egg cell as well. Antipodal cells, they will provide nutrition to the future endosperm. Endosperm is about to form when fertilization happens. So in that case, they will nourish the endosperm. Polar nuclei is what is going to become the endosperm after triple fusion. Egg cell will become the zygote after syngamy. Okay? Simple. And let me quickly repeat it. The pollen tube which is growing towards the ovule will have two male gametes. One male gamete will fuse with the egg cell and form the zygote. That process is called syngamy. That is the first fertilization. Another male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei to form the endosperm, and that is called as triple fusion. So there are two different fertilization involved in this process. That's why it's called double fertilization. Simple as such. Okay? Clear? See, one male gamete fusing with the egg cell. Superb. This is the first fertilization. Another male gamete fusing with the polar nuclei. This is the second fertilization. 2, 2, 2. So you can evidently see two fertilization. That's why double fertilization. And if you ask me, ma'am, what is 2n, what is 3n? Very simple, children. Male gamete will have half the number of chromosome. Correct? N. Female gamete will have half the number of chromosome. N. N plus N. They fuse together to form 2n. What is this 2n? This is the zygote. This zygote is diploid in nature. 2n. What is the meaning of the word diploid? How to represent diploid? 2n. Meaning two sets of chromosome, one set from the father, one set from the mother. Here one set from the male gamete, one set from the female gamete. Okay. Okay, in that case, why have they represented 3N? Three sets of chromosomes. Simple. Already the polar nuclei had two nucleus, right? N plus N, two nucleus, N, N. Another N is coming and joining. That is N of the male gamete. N plus N plus N is 3N. Correct. That's why we call it triploid. That's why the name triple fusion also. Triple. Right? So basically, one male gamete fuses with the egg cell to form diploid zygote. Another male gamete fuses with the polar nuclei to form triploid endosperm. Simple as such. So now, talking about seed germination, now we have the ovule. We have the seed, we have the fruit. Okay, fine. Now we are very happy we are eating the fruit. We are throwing away the seeds. The birds are there to help us throw away the seeds everywhere. Now if suppose I want another apple tree, I want more such apples. I need to procure all the seeds. Okay, if I just have the seeds, will I get the apple tree? No, I won't get it, right? The seeds will be seeds. If you keep it in your hand, right, say imagine you are having a handful of seeds. Do you think they're going to become an apple tree or many such trees? No. Because the seed needs nutrition. The seed needs water. The seed needs sunlight. The seed needs minerals. Only then it can become a seedling. That process of seed becoming a seedling, a tiny plantlet, is called seed germination. So, when you give the required conditions to a seed, the seed starts germinating. Putting it in a soil, watering them, ensuring that there is sufficient sunlight. What happens? The seed starts sprouting. Have you people eaten sprouts? Yeah, sprouts are a very good source of protein, right? Yeah. So if you just water your sprouts, right, it can be even the moong dal or the chana dal. If you just give them the right amount of moisture, the next day morning or within 2 days, you can see a lot of sprouts there, right? That's germination. Simple as such. So now, you know what? If you give necessary condition to a seed, a small tiny thing arises like this. That is called a radical. What is that? Radical. What is radical, ma'am? This radical is going to be the future root. And slowly another structure arises called plumule. What is plumule, ma'am? Plumule is the future shoot. Shoot and root you should be knowing. You are big enough to know what is shoot and root. Shoot is the part of the plant above the ground and root is the part of the plant below the ground. Right? Cool, that's it. So you have to know what is plumule radical. Apart from that, cotyledons. Many kids come to me and ask, ma'am, what is meant by cotyledons? So children, the structure which you see here, right, this one. Imagine a chana seed or a chana dal. You can break open it into two halves, right? That's a cotyledon now, right? But can you do that to a rice? Can you do that to a wheat? No, you cannot. Which means there are two categories. One called monocot, one called dicot. Okay. Say suppose, I'll give you the examples, okay? Say suppose you're planting the seed inside, a dicot seed. It will start germinating, no? When it germinates, the radical comes, the plumule comes, and it will come out of the soil, right? When it comes out, this first part, the first leaf-like structure which comes, that is called the cotyledon. I can say cotyledon is nothing but embryonic leaves. Or I can say they are the first leaves which will come out. Okay? Yes? Let me show you the example so that you can understand it better. Monocots will have just single cotyledons. Dicots will have two cotyledons. Di means two, right? So monocots, the best example. So the first line, these are examples of monocots. And the second line are the examples of dicots. So monocots, if you see, corn, grass, coconut, orchid, banana. I would request you to remember two more. I'll tell you. Wait. So you can remember rice and wheat. Okay. So remember rice, wheat, corn and grass or coconut, whichever any one of the remaining four. But I want you to compulsorily remember rice, wheat and corn. Right? Rice, wheat and corn. Okay, these are monocots. Because why am I asking you to remember this? Because these three you will often see them. And you know you cannot break it into two. Right? You cannot break it into two halves. Maybe the rice or the wheat or the corn. So remember these three compulsory. And for dicots, you can see the rose. You can ask, ma'am, does rose have a seed? If you observe closely, yeah, they have primitive seeds, we say. Okay, so the examples are rose, pea. Pea, of course, a very gram, the green gram, right? If you break open green peas, it has two cots, right? Dicotyledon. Sunflower, again like rose, you can see primitive seeds there. Apple, tomato, all these are examples of dicots. Okay. Please do remember, because it's an often asked 2-mark question in your board examination. name 4 examples of monochords and dichords each. Okay, remember 4 for each. That will be my suggestion. That's all. So today we have covered what is double fertilization, what is triple fusion, what is meant by monochords and dichords, and seed germination. Yeah. Yeah, children, if you feel, ma'am, you have taught us a little more extra, that's fine. If you want to know, watch the full lecture. If you feel that's a little extra, you can skip the part and just learn the needed essential things. Okay. But if you are taking any competitive exam, I will definitely recommend you to watch the entire video. Okay, children? And that's it, nothing much. Yeah, feel free to post the topics whichever you want in the comment section. Yeah, I'll be the happiest person to pick that topic and teach you in my next lecture. Also, do subscribe if you like the channel. Do like it. Most importantly, I want you to share it to your friends, because sharing knowledge is very essential, right? So please do share it with your classmates, with your friends. Let everybody benefit out of it. And do not forget to post the topic which you want me to teach in the next lecture. Ta-da, bye.